Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about Pokemon card prices, what's been happening recently, and what just my general thoughts are on it, and what I think is going to happen in the future. So the reason why this is getting quite topical is just recently Charizard prices have been going in the range of about 16k USD towards the 17k USD mark now, which obviously indicates these cards are starting to get some serious value. It's quite interesting because maybe 3 years ago those cards were worth about $3,500. So obviously you have some crazy, growth in that kind of market. And I am going to talk about that, what my thoughts are. I think it comes down to the demand and supply of that and that equilibrium, the economical perspective. And yeah, so ultimately I guess it does prove that, these cards aren't just for kids. You don't see kids walking around with $16,000, to spend on a Charizard. So, I think the whole area in general, Pokemon cards, is starting to get a lot of interest from like investors and serious collectors who actually have some serious cash. If I'm honest, actually, though, it's a little bit disappointing because when you see these cards go for that price, a little bit of you is thinking, oh, well, maybe one day I'll get that. But I think it's kind of, the boat sailed now towards the 17k mark. I think that's a little bit much. But it is interesting, though, because obviously some people do have that kind of capital, and it shows a lot about what's going on in the market and what's going to happen in the future. So to get into what I was saying, I believe it's all based around the supply and demand, and this is just not just for the Charizards, but all of the cards in general. Now I'm going to talk about the supply first. In my argument, I'm going to say the supply for these cards is constant. That's because for two reasons. First of all, these cards are around 17, 18 years old, so there's not a lot of them actually out there. Not a lot of these are being graded. I mean, let's be honest, it's very specific to submit these to PSA, get the 10, even have it in the good condition in the first place. Like, people just don't rock up and think, oh, I'm going to open a pack from 17 years ago, and then I'm going to go grade it. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, these cards rarely come up. Most of the time, people holding on to them are just like holding them because they don't have it in like a private collection and stuff. So you have small increases in supply when people open a box and they grade it and they want to sell it. But then most of the time you have, small decreases in supply because people get a hold of the card they want and they think, oh, awesome, I got this card. I am not selling that. I'm putting that straight in my collection and that's it. So if anything, I think the supply slowly goes down. But overall, let's just say it's constant. The room for growth in the increasing prices, though, will always come through on the other side of this equilibrium from the demand. Demand is where it's all happened. It's the single reason why these cards have just suddenly gone up in value. I'm not talking about they've suddenly worth millions of dollars. I'm just saying they're definitely going up, which is quite interesting, for someone like myself who's collecting these, thinking, oh, these cards are a little bit worth a bit more now. Like, I'm not saying every card's worth thousands, but it is going up. I mean, you can, obviously with the Charizard, for example, is the stereotypical example, but, all sorts of cards going up. So going into the demand, why that's such a big factor, there's multiple reasons. I think first of all, there's a lot more awareness of these cards now. Before, previously, maybe this was kind of a niche thing. People kind of had them, but they didn't really say much about it. Maybe certain private forums had like collection pictures and stuff and threads, but let's be honest, most people didn't really know much about that. And even now, there's all sorts of awareness coming through. There's YouTube just going. Obviously, YouTube's always been big recently, but YouTube's going even bigger now with these kind of niche markets and channels growing, like myself even. And what's quite surprising is actually Instagram. Instagram actually has a whole bunch of these kind of pages where people say, look at this card I've got, or anyone want to buy this for $125. And, it's just all this awareness that just wasn't there before. And people, I think subconsciously, when they see these cards on Instagram, they're like, oh, this person's got Erica's Venus or PSA 10. They're like, oh, I want to get that, I really want that card. And even without realizing, I think it just creates awareness and desire for the cards because people want to have that card in, or whatever card they choose in their collection. So more awareness, more demand, and I think a little thing, well, it's not little, it's actually enormous, but I think Pokemon Go actually drove a lot of increase in just general awareness around the cards as well. Not directly, like people kind of play Pokemon Go and they're like, oh, now think about it, like, how much is this card worth? Or like, maybe I should buy a card, like, just... It definitely helped. It definitely didn't hurt it, put it that way. And another interesting point, I think getting to the age period now, these cards are, around the 17-year mark on average, maybe 18 for some. The people who grew up with them and in their childhood, like myself and, many others, maybe they're working a full-time job, maybe they have a full-time income or part-time income, it doesn't matter, and they have a bit of disposable income. You know, they're like, oh, I want to make a collection, you know, I want to have a hobby. And those people have some money now to buy the cards. And then I think that is where, you know, obviously the extreme of that is some people have too much money and they spend almost $20,000 on a Charizard, which is obviously, in my opinion, a bit crazy, but still it makes sense because the supply is so low, you know, have less than 100. But yeah, those people have those kinds of that disposable income, so they can actually go out and, you know, buy a card for fun, and it overall just grows the demand around the cards. All those factors. There's heaps of demand factors. I mean, you know, 2 years ago when I started my collection, I went out and I bought this. It's Zapdos PSA 9 First Edition Fossil. When I bought this, I was like, oh, it's a really cool card. One of my favorite legendary bird, and yeah, it'd just be really cool to have this card like as a collection. Like the whole is awesome. Why not? I had no idea what I was getting myself into because the whole thing's just so addictive and fun. Yeah, it's just great. It's a lot of fun collecting these cards, I think. I'm the kind of person who would prefer to hold on to them and say, you know, look at my collection. You know, I don't really want to sell them in the near future either. So anyway, coming back to, I was getting a bit of a sidetrack. Coming back to my main point. So you've got the supply and demand. So like I said, the supply is relatively constant, demand's growing. So that is what is overall boosting these prices up. I think I'll wrap around my thoughts now. I think it's a really good time to buy cards. And that's not like, you know, I'm not being biased or you know, I'm just saying what I think is right, you know. I think that the sets such as, you know, the sets I like included, you know, Jungle, Fossil, all those 1999 sets, I think there's a huge, like, potential there. I think the base set to ship, you know, if you can afford it, well done. But most people, for your average collector, shippers sailed, really expensive cards. There's still growth there, I reckon, but it's pretty expensive. So I reckon with those side sets, you know, you've got Jungle, your Fossil, your base set 2, your Gym Challenge, your Gym Heroes, Team Rocket, even the Japanese cards. Like there's a whole bunch of Japanese like Pikachus and obviously the same corresponding sets. There's so much demand there. And those cards, I think there's just so much room for growth. So I think it's a really exciting time if you do want to get into this kind of collection hobby. I don't think you can go, put it this way, I will say, I don't think you can make huge amounts of money, like, straight away, but I don't think you can really go wrong. I think it's kind of with the kind of excitement and growth going on. If you bought a card, if you held it for a year and, like, you sold it, I don't think you're really going to lose money. Like, you might lose $10, $20, but I don't think you're going to, like, lose half your money. It just doesn't work like that. I mean, it's just not that kind of market. Like, the supply just can't, you know, accommodate that. So, yeah, I think it's pretty exciting. And my opinion is over the next 2 years, so we're in May 2017, I'd like to revisit this again in May 2019 and see what kind of prices we're talking about. I think there's going to be a pretty nice increase. Nothing as crazy as the Charizard that has, because obviously that's the extreme. But I think there's a lot of potential and it's very exciting. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of the prices in general for Pokemon cards, and if you think there's any particular sets which are really undervalued. Like I said, those sets I mentioned before I think are undervalued because they're highly desirable. You know, kids had them when they were like younger as their, oh, you know, I got my Kangaskhan, I got my Dragonite, which are, you know, Fossil and Jungle, and, you know, those cards aren't going to be around. Like, there's a very limited supply and people will want them. I think the demand goes up, the prices go up. So I think it's a pretty cool time. I think it's pretty exciting about the prices. And, you know, ultimately, my last thought is that while these cards are really fun to collect, in a way they are actually they're an asset and they're an investment, because, you know, ultimately, you know, you're not actually playing trading card games with them. I mean, most people, I'm sure, aren't. You're just holding on to them because you like the card, they look cool, and you think, you know, there's some growth there. So I think it's a good time, exciting time. Because of that, I mean, definitely why wouldn't I be doing this channel and getting into it myself if not? So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and yeah, thanks for watching. This was a bit of a different video today, just kind of going through some thoughts I had about the whole situation, and yeah, it'll be really interesting to hear what some people's opinions are. And yeah, thanks for that. I'll catch you next time.